I once knew a man so poor, all he had was money. Hello, my name is Beaird, and on this lovely evening, I'll be talking to you guys about King Nothing. Imagine this, you see a man who's richly dressed, has a bag of some of the most expensive steak you can buy, and who's about to step into a beautiful Corvette. Then you see a man who's dressed in rags, with nothing but a morsel of bread. Who do you think is happier? I believe everyone, including myself, would say that the man who is wealthy has a happier life. But then, he goes home to an empty house with no one and nothing. And then he'll wake up the next morning and go back to work, because we have been taught from a young age, through society, that the richer, more successful you are, the happier you will become. Now the man in rags enters a 15 by 15 shed. His face lights up at the look of his wife and children. They sit around a small fire as they eat old, stale bread. But as they eat, they talk with each other and laugh with one another. He feels like the richest man in the world. So let me ask you this. How do you define wealth and success? Do you look how nice your car is? How many decimal points you have in your bank account? Or do you look at your family members and friends? There are such things that money cannot buy. Let me tell you a story about an 81-year-old music teacher named Franco Selleck, who lived arguably one of the most charmed lives ever. He escaped death more than 7 times, from his train slipping off the rails, to his car erupting flames, to falling out of an airplane. Then, in 2003, he got his lucky break. He won a raffle drawing for over $1 million. However, Selleck felt that money wasn't the path to true happiness. So in 2010, he parted with his newfound wealth. He sold his upscale house on a private island and gave it, along with the rest of his winnings, to his friends and family. He then moved back to his original home where he has vowed to live a simpler life. Here's a man who's been through it all. And when he's finally made it big, what does he do? He realizes that money is not the end goal. So he goes back to his friends, his family, his community. Anyone here know a man named George Hall? Many of you may be thinking about an actor. I'm not. You see, if you Google George Hall today, you'll find many people, but you may not find the man who I'm talking to you about today. The George Hall I know, may his soul rest in peace, became a tenured professor at West Virginia University at 30 years of age. He then left his post just 3 years after being a calculus professor. Why? Because he had a calling to become a pastor. His father was on the verge of disowning him, and they did not talk to each other for over 3 years when he had made his decision. This man, my grandfather, left a stable, well-paying job to become a pastor. He chose fellowship and community over money. I pray that you would learn from this example and that you would chase your calling no matter how many people say you're making a horrible decision. Because without our hopes and dreams, what are we? They did a study in the UK of how important monthly income is to the average person. 3 out of 10 people ranked it higher than friends, while 28% see it as more of a priority than family. When did we begin to put money before family, friends, and fellowship? The fellow that has no money is poor. The fellow with nothing but money is poorer still. Billy Sunday. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that the lower class are so often more charitable than the rich? A psychologist from Berkeley, California has been studying this. He and his team show rich and poor people images of suffering, such as people in pain or starving. Here's what they found. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the human body and should have a very drastic sympathetic function. When the lower class were faced with suffering, they had a vagus nerve response. The upper class did not. When did money begin to desensitize humanity? When did we begin to prioritize our incomes over our families and relationships? When did we become so self-absorbed that we forgot sympathy or compassion? So I challenge you as you leave this building, that you would choose the happiest path in life, not the richest. I would rather be a king of nothing than a king of everything. Thank you.